Team 7 has finally received their fair share of broken abilities, leaving only Mitsuki behind, who isn't even fit to take down the current villains. So does it mean that he will remain nothing more than a supporting character, or are the writers cooking something big for the snake ally of Boruto? Well, with the other characters unlocking their special powers, we have got not one but 4 different formulas for Mitsuki to awaken his new power. On top of that, the second best way to find out what's coming for him is the critically acclaimed anime itself, where he not only received some recognition from an Otsutsuki, but also got his own unique self-development arc. We have the possibility of a dragon-inspired power, a breakthrough of Orochimaru's tech, and even the involvement of the notorious DNA of Shibai Otsutsuki. But did the anime actually tease a brighter future for Mitsuki, or is he going to get the Sumire treatment in the story, who also got her own special arc with a staggering backstory? But when we compare it to the manga, she has been reduced to a simp whose best job is to interfere in the most hyped love story of the series. Mitsuki is kind of similar but still far better, as in the beginning of Two Blue Vortex, he could be seen glazing Kawaki, but soon enough he realizes the true whereabouts of his son, followed by capturing the attention of all the readers for one single reason: the anticipation of a never before seen power-up, which would gain him the lost respect back. But how likely is that at this point? So I decided to go an extra mile in this video, and instead of just figuring out which ability or power would be unlocked by Mitsuki, we will also dive into some of his possible roles to predict the best possible outcome. Would he simply get an amplified Sage mode, or a never before seen Shinjitsu technique that would change his legacy forever? We can count all his feats from the manga, but they are mostly limited to Taijutsu and Sage transformation, which pretty much proves that he's no match to the major characters or villains, since they have already surpassed their limits in numerous ways. But there is one common trope among every character who has unlocked a broken power, and it has been canonically confirmed as well. It's the influence of love. As confirmed by JURA himself, love makes people do surprising things. It pushes them to their limits in order to bring out the best from them during the unfathomable circumstances. So how would this magical emotion help in awakening the untapped potential of Mitsuki? Well, with the few character blueprints in front of us, let's explore what new powers and role are going to define the fate of Boruto's snake ally. Starting off with Kawaki's way of unlocking his limiters, which I like to call the power petition. Basically, he was made aware that his powers are being hindered by someone, so he just went to him and demanded his limiters to get unlocked, just to awaken his limitless form. Now this awakening also involves the influence of love, since Kawaki didn't want to feel useless in front of the massive threats, which could bring an end to the world. So in a nutshell, he had no other way out than going to Amaru and getting his limiters unlocked. Now when we use the same power petition trope in Mitsuki's case, you must have already realized where this is going. Orochimaru, the parent of Mitsuki, could have secretly hindered his full potential as well. The hints to back this up are pretty reasonable. But first let's get to why Kawaki and Mitsuki's matchup may have led to a synchronization in their destinies. In the beginning, it was shown that Mitsuki was slowly turning evil and bloodthirsty under Kawaki's influence. But slowly we got to see that his conscience can still identify the true whereabouts of his son, meaning he wasn't fully blinded by the spell of omnipotence, just like Shikamaru. But when we compare Mitsuki and Kawaki from a different angle, they both are more or less artificial human beings. One was created from scratch by Orochimaru, and the other was modified with Otsutsuki tech by Amaru. This brings in the possibility of Mitsuki getting a new power-up similar to Kawaki, just like how he went to the modifier and asked him to unlock what's already inside. Mitsuki could demand his creator to bestow some new powers on him, or enhance what's within. Now this is where it all gets interesting. What if, just like Amaru, Orochimaru has also limited the true powers of Mitsuki? The hints again come from the anime, and if this theory comes true, then the snake vessel could officially become the Otsutsuki tier partner of Boruto. So it all starts with his name, which means snake vessel or snake moon. Mitsuki always believed that he needed someone to shine his light on him, cause he couldn't glow on his own, and that's when he found Boruto and started calling him the sun. We know later in the story he became the worst enemy of the sun for a while, but the next puzzle piece for our theory is not present in the manga. Instead, it's in the anime, where we see an Otsutsuki who is the exact lookalike of Mitsuki, and that is Toneri. While their natural appearance may look slightly similar to each other, but their Sage and Chakra mode transformations look almost exactly the same. This might just look like a visual similarity at first, but when we dig deep into the roles of both the characters, things seem to appear more than just a coincidence. Toneri, who resides on the moon, informed Boruto about the Jogan, petition, while Mitsuki the Snake Moon has been his most loyal partner in the story. Not just that, even Urashiki took a small amount of Mitsuki's sage chakra and called it dangerous. All these hints indicate that Mitsuki's senjutsu is something beyond normal, and the comeback of Orochimaru could confirm that to us. So the theory goes something like this. Just like how Amaru used the Shibai cells to enhance his cyborgs, Orochimaru could use the cells of some other Otsutsuki like Kaguya or Toneri to make Mitsuki a lot more stronger. His true potential could be lingering inside, but he might need to manually go to Orochimaru just like Kawaki to get his limiters unlocked. We will also discuss the possibility of a dragon mode, but first let's understand how this hidden Otsutsuki power of Mitsuki could also come out under the other tropes. Before we move on to the other tropes, I would like to point out 3 different theories regarding Mitsuki that were sent to me by Jake Shaki on X. I really like how much effort he has put into all this, so a huge shout out to him for sharing this one on the right time. Basically, the theory forms some parallels between the stages of Mitsuki's life and the cycles of the moon. It makes sense cause he's basically the snake moon, so having similar stages in life is not out of question. In the Mitsuki disappearance arc, episode 73 at 14 minutes 5 seconds, Orochimaru states that Mitsuki has entered some sort of stage 2 after he goes rogue from Konoha. To understand what this means and how the moon parallels with Mitsuki here, we will need to understand its 4 major phases and compare it to the case of Mitsuki. First we have stage 0, and it corresponds to the time when Mitsuki was born again in the beginning of the one-shot where he had lost some of his memories too. The new moon is often linked to new beginnings, hidden potential, purification or death before rebirth. In alchemy and some other traditions, it's referred to as the empty vessel stage, which perfectly fits with Mitsuki being created from point 0. At this stage he has no free will of his own, and he only does what he is told to do cause he doesn't know any better. He's more or less an empty vessel, just like the fabrications who were shown in the Mitsuki disappearance arc, who also have hollow pupils, reflecting their emptiness and puppet-like roles. Then we have the first stage of development, which corresponds to the time when he chose his own path in the one-shot manga and decided to find the whereabouts of the sun at his own, the one whom he thinks would illuminate him, who in this matter is Boruto. It reflects the waxing period of the moon, which is associated with intention, growth and the first shaping of destiny, mirroring the awakened curiosity of Mitsuki when he went to seek his own path and the sun that would enlighten him. After this we have stage 2, the one that Orochimaru himself mentions after he goes rogue with the fabrications from the hidden stone village. It corresponds to the half moon and represents decision making, challenges and often the first trial of the hero in mythology. Orochimaru says that if the light of the sun still shines on him, he could still shine through the darkness like the moonlight, and that's what happened towards the end of the arc, when Boruto finally retrieved Mitsuki, growing their symbolic bond even stronger. Now the final 2 phases are the most important, as they correspond to the recent and upcoming role of Mitsuki in the story. First we have stage 3, the waxing period of the moon, which is associated with refinement, preparation for illumination, and often the anticipation of shaping one's true form. Well, this directly relates to the time when Mitsuki got influenced with omnipotence, tampering all his memories of the sun, making him see Boruto as an enemy. Now this is where things get interesting. In the Mitsuki one-shot, Orochimaru states that it's their 6th attempt at what they are trying to do with Mitsuki after he regains consciousness. Interestingly, snake is the 6th animal in the Chinese zodiac, and everything from logs lighter to the statues are based off the same animal. This pretty much reflects the significance of the serpent in Mitsuki's destiny. But what's mind-blowing is that the next zodiac sign in Chinese mythology at number 7 is the horse, and in exactly chapter 7 of Two Blue Vortex, which is called the whereabouts of the sun, Mitsuki finally gives up on his bloodthirst of Boruto since his snakes are unable to attack him, cause even though the memories have been tampered, the very essence of the bond remains unchanged. And when you think of what horses do, well, their job is to carry someone on their back. So going by that logic, what if Mitsuki becomes the carrier to Boruto in some way in the story? Well, Jake has a total of 4 theories to assert how this may be the case. The first one explains Mitsuki somehow becoming a vessel to Boruto, either by sacrificing his current body or a new one. In this way, he could simply give him a karma and resurrect, which would get rid of Momoshiki forever, purifying his soul from the Otsutsuki, which might even be a trigger to the Jogan. The next theory states that Mitsuki would somehow be the anchor who would reverse omnipotence. This one is my favorite because the final stage of this theory deals with the waning period and the full moon. Waning phases are often associated associated with bodhisattva activity, or let's say the actions of an enlightened being. It features using one's enlightenment to deal with others, sacrificing personal attachment to serve the world. In Mitsuki's case, he could be sacrificing his false feelings for Kawaki just to enlighten the world with Boruto's truth, and how much he has suffered for literally nothing. The final theory of Jake states that Mitsuki may be the key to releasing Toneri due to their shared resemblance and Urashiki's comment on his sage mode that I will discuss later in this video. While it's definitely an interesting possibility, I don't see it going too far just because the anime and the manga are following different continuations and we have no sign of Toneri, Urashiki or the Jogan in the manga as of now. So let's declare the omnipotence reversal theory as the winner for now. Again, props to Jake for digging this deep. And now let's move on to the next trope. Next we have the Sarada trope. She unlocked a massively overpowered ability through her inherited Mangekyou Sharingan after she was pushed to her limits by the circumstances, implying that in Mitsuki's case, his next power-up could also come from a fatal situation, meaning he always possessed that power within and it's only about the right time when it will come out. So similar to how the Mangekyou wasn't a new power and it's just that it has manifested a different ability which has gotten a lot more broken. Something similar could happen with Mitsuki, where he might unlock an enhanced version of the Sage mode, surpassing every past user and scaling to the level of a Shinju if not of Suzuki. His new form could be the Dragon Sage mode, something that people believed was possessed by Kabuto too, but it was never made official, so it was more or less headcanon. Mitsuki on the other hand could make the Dragon Sage mode a real thing, based on some hard to deny hints. First off, dragons do exist in the Narutoverse, since we have already seen a lot of abilities inspired by these mythical beings, so the possibility of a Dragon Sage mode is not out of question. Second, when we take Mitsuki at face value, he's basically the personification of a serpent. From his name, the pale skin, flexible body and airy calmness, everything about him mirrors the serpent archetype. Orochimaru designed him as the perfect vessel, a living embodiment of the snake's ability to survive, adapt and transform. But snakes in mythology aren't the end of the story. Across many cultures, serpents evolve into dragons, which are higher divine versions of the same archetype. In Chinese mythology, snakes who live long enough and accumulate wisdom transform into dragons who are guardians of cosmic balance. And in Indian lore, Nagas transcend into semi-divine beings with draconic features. Even in the Bible, the serpent of Eden becomes the dragon of Revelation. So symbolically, the serpent is just the first stage. The dragon is the final evolution. So by connecting all these dots, one thing is pretty much clear. Mitsuki's final form could be a Dragon Sage mode, and there is a possibility for it to be amped by the DNA of some Otsutsuki that Orochimaru secretly implanted inside Mitsuki. In this way, he could have his power unlocked similar to Sarada, reflecting the lineage awakening trope. Going back to the petition power trope, there is a chance for Mitsuki to be enhanced by Shibai cells too, if the threats on the planet exceed a certain mark. In that way, he would become the perfect Otsutsuki tier ally of Boruto, but the odds to that are not that high, based on Amado's personal motives and the possibility of him betraying Konoha at some point. So as for the final trope for Mitsuki's new power-up, well, it comes from Boruto himself, and I would like to call it the training trope. Just like how Kashin Koji mentored Boruto and helped him in awakening new powers early, there's a chance for him to do the same with every supporting character, meaning he would run the prescience to see the best possible outcome for Mitsuki and then he would advise him a plan to get to that, similar to how he indirectly helped Sarada in awakening her Mangekyou power, but this time it could be more of a direct one-on-one interaction. The hint to back this up comes from one of the futures that Koji saw with his power of prescience. It showed us Inojin in the same hideout of Orochimaru, where Koji is taking refuge. So if Team 10 has been sent there for some mission, possibly to rescue Kashin Koji, there is a chance that Mitsuki and everyone would get trained under Koji after that, cause there is literally no other way to make them stronger than looking at the odds of the futures. So training under the person who made Boruto this much powerful is also a huge possibility for Mitsuki to upgrade his powers, abilities and skill set. This lineup would also be symbolic in nature, since the clone of Jiraiya would train the child of Orochimaru, providing yet another nostalgic essence to the story. If you are interested in more such theories, check out these videos right now, and I will see you next time.